Hello and welcome to another episode of Beside the Gavel. This is a very special episode as I'm here with two of my 14 favorite commissioners. I'm here with Commissioner Dave McComb and Commissioner Tiffany O'Neill. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having us.
Actually, probably two of my favorite 10, 12. So good to have you guys with me.
Thank you for having us.
And I apologize, I'm only having you here now that your tenures are coming to an end on the board. Both of you have decided not to run for re-election, which is very sad for me. But you have both been on the board for a number of years and appreciate all of your service. And I know your residents and the residents of Lower Merion Township certainly appreciate all of the service you've provided. So if you wouldn't mind just starting by telling me and telling our audience a little bit about yourselves. I know, being a commissioner is not a full-time job. Everyone has a job outside of this. So about yourself and how long you've served as commissioner and what ward you represent. So ladies first. Oh, lady. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you, Dave, for being here too. So I've been a commissioner for 8 years. I'm finishing up my second term. I'm in Ward 11, which to the audience would mean Bryn Mawr, Rosemont, and Gladwin. And it's a great, wonderful ward. It's a great sliver of the township, and we are the only one without any commercial district, so it's very special.
Nice.
Andy, I'm the commissioner for Ward 9, which is that sliver of the township that runs from Orchard Avenue near the Wendy's all the way down to the river. So we're long and skinny, but we really have a lot of commercial development. We probably have more. I think the assessed value of commercial real estate in Ward 9 is greater than the rest of the township put together. So I like to say we're the most important ward and we should get more votes, but of course we don't. But I've been a commissioner.
That's also very special.
But this will be my one and only term for 4 years. And when I'm not doing this, I'm a lawyer, I'm a litigator, employment commercial with a firm in town.
Gotcha.
So I have my hands full most of the time.
So this will be an easier question for you because it's only thinking back 4 years ago instead of 8 years ago. What made you decide to run for commissioner in the first place?
Great question. I hadn't really thought about it. I'd been a shade tree commissioner for 7 years, and getting the township greener was very important to me and still is important to me. So when I ran, my slogan was a greener, safer, more walkable Bala Kenwood. And the thing about the township is we do so many things well. We really, have an abundance of riches and an abundance of talented people. But I think there's some things we can do incrementally better. And one of those is making the township greener, particularly in Ward 9, which has that long City Avenue stretch. So that's something I've always been interested in, and I think that's been one of the things I've focused on as a commissioner, to see what I can do to make it greener, safer, more walkable.
Yeah. When you say greener, do you mean literally greener with more trees, or greener as in more sustainable, or both? In
every sense of the word.
Yeah.
I think greener, certainly with trees, and I joke with the City Avenue Special Services District that, and they're now in the process of doing a master landscape plan that's underway, and it's very exciting. But I joke that if we don't get some trees planted, I was going to rent a pickup truck in the middle of the night and just go out and plant some along City Avenue because it desperately needed it. But I think greener too, in every sense of the word. Greener, getting people to use public transit. It's one of those basic things, but I'm shocked at how many people complain about the commute from Lower Merion into town. And I say, do you take the train or you take the bus? They're like, no, I don't. I sit on the expressway. So getting the message out, to encourage that, I think is a part, along with the other sustainability things that we're all doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about you, Tiffany?
Well, it's interesting. It's very similar, I think, to what Dave was describing. When I ran 8 years ago, it was really because my heart has been in public service my entire career. So this seemed like a natural next step. Young family, new area that I knew there was going to be a 20-year vacancy from a previous commissioner, and the time was ripe to really step in and try to make some change on the local level. And as it turns out, a lot of what the focus has turned out to be over the last 8 years has been preservation of natural space, and making the most use of actually the work that you did on the Shade Tree Commission to really help improve local preserves, making sure that we're caring for them to the best capacity that we can, helping to raise money around them, helping to make sure all the departments are working really synergistically, thank you, with synergy, to make sure that we're really able to deliver a high quality of service to these parcels of land in all areas of the township, whether it be commercial zones or in large areas that we have out in the western part of the township.
Right.
But I've enjoyed it. I love the casework piece of it and really helping on every matter, whether it's a down tree or a down wire or a stop sign that's ill-placed or a stop bar or some of the more complex issues for major roadways and emission control intersections and things of that nature. It's been wonderful.
That's great. And so I know one of the key focuses for you has been the Harridan House, right? That's in your ward, and
Yes.
it is a treasure of this township.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it for those who don't know what it is or have never visited.
Sure. So Harridan House is one of the only historic homes in Lower Merion Township that's on the national registry.
Right.
And this is Charles Thompson was the secretary for the Second Constitutional Congress, and he penned some of the Constitution right there.
Wow.
And it's just a neat slice of history. They have a celebration, several celebrations every year. A couple weeks ago was the Harridan Fair, and that was, of course, it always is an amazing event. A lot of local vendors, and so they do great historic work to memorialize so much of Harridan's and Bryn Mawr's history.
Is it open to the public? Can people go
Yep,
visit it?
open to the
Yep.
public. They can come in pretty much every day of the week. They have a few hours where they're closed, and they close 4 o'clock most days or by appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
lots
it is
to
a
see.
great.
Working farm, adorable goats. Come and see them. They're cute.
And I remember during the festival when they did goat yoga, so you could
Oh,
have the
yes.
goats walk on your back.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I did it. It's just like the goats are tickling your stomach and downward dog, and
Goat yoga's no joke. It's very fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I think you might have been upside down because they're supposed to be on your back, not on your stomach. But
Yeah,
that's
personal to me.
Dave,
So.
you do you.
That's what I saw back there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really neat program, and they've been very innovative. And it's a township, right? It's a township property.
Yep, Township Park
Yep.
that is controlled by a local nonprofit, and so the collaboration between the township in terms of maintaining the building and the structures and the programming that is conducted by the association of volunteers, really, a couple of paid staff, but they do a great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Nice. So I know, Dave, you have one of the things you've worked on is the police committee, right? You've chaired that committee. What has that experience been like? What challenges have you had? What do you feel like we've accomplished? I know we've had a lot of traffic calming, right, that we've put into place over the last few years. So tell us a little bit about your experience there.
It's been a great experience. We're fortunate to have a terrific police department, and I've said this a bunch of times, but we're in the upper 1% in the state in terms of our training, our certifications, and we're always hiring very, very good officers.
Yeah.
But we have, one of the problems we have is speeding. When I talked about a greener, safer, more walkable township, implicit in walkability is you can walk safely, and pedestrian safety is an issue, and not just in Ward 9, throughout the township. And one of the problems is that Pennsylvania is the only state in the country that doesn't allow local municipalities to use radar, which means we're really hamstrung in terms of going after speeders, and we're short. We're down about 11 officers from our authorized strength, which means the officers have to do patrolling throughout the township. It's hard to get the resources to have an officer stationed in one place, another one timing. And so anything we can do to cut down on speeding and traffic violations would be huge. But the experience has been positive. One of the things we've been doing lately after the January stop that was very controversial and I'm not going to comment on it because it's in litigation and so forth, but with the very able leadership of Commissioner Sean Kramer, we have a police engagement committee, and we're reaching out to various groups, faith-based organizations, the FOP, command staff, to start having a dialogue so that all the various parts of the township have a better understanding as to what the other is experiencing during a police stop or police interaction. So I think that's very positive.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
People have strong feelings about it, and anything we can do to get people talking is a good idea. So kudos to Commissioner Kramer, Commissioner Zeloff, Commissioner Stevenson are also on that committee and have done done a lot of good work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think pretty recently policing has changed, relatively recently, to a more community policing, right, model versus your traditional, like if you think of policing when we were kids, or, I know for us it was a lot longer ago than you, but, it's changed. And I think where kind of the trend in the country has gone is a more interactive police force. And it doesn't mean defunding the police. It doesn't mean, getting rid of police, but it does mean having a different model. And that is relatively new, and I don't think there's a good definition out there of what community policing is. So like you said, we're working through it, but we do have a great police force, and we have, I think, officers who can adapt, who really care about this community and really want to do what's best for the community. But there are certainly, changes, and any time you make change, it's difficult to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Community policing is becoming more of a priority. Again, it's a little bit more difficult because of the shortage of officers, and we have such a large geographic area they have to patrol. Again, if you're walking a beat through one of the business districts, you're not quite as mobile, obviously, if there's a call, a break-in in Gavrin or some emergency.
Yeah.
But we're working on that, because I think community policing is important. I think people will have a better relationship with the police department if they see them outside of their cars, they have a chance to speak with them. We're doing more events like Coffee with a Cop, and events where you have a chance to speak to an officer about things that are affecting your neighborhood. And I think that's all a very positive development.
And I think too, on the front end is and you may have mentioned this earlier, is the stellar training that our police officers receive. We have some award-winning programs, including virtual reality sessions that our police officers are all exposed to, and we actually can do that too for a little training session. But it is something that a lot of other municipalities across the state are trying to emulate, the goals and objectives of our training right here. So we are blessed with a superb police force.
Yeah, it's a great point. And wait a second. Okay, the goon, I can go on. I have so many more questions, but the goons behind the camera are telling me it's time to take a break. We get a ton of money from our sponsors, right? Everyone wants to sponsor this show, so we have to make sure we get the commercials in. So thank you for watching part one. We'll be back with Commissioners O'Neill and McComb right after these messages. Tips and everything else from our sponsors. We are back with Commissioners O'Neill and McComb. So we'll continue our discussion. So before I asked you a little bit about why you got onto the board, now the question is, now that you're going to be leaving the board, freeing up, 60 or 70 hours a week, what are you going to do with this free time that you no longer have?
Well, I was still a little one at home, so I'll be trying to do more with him in the evenings. And I work full-time with the House of Representatives, so my days still will remain pretty full. But boy, am I going to miss it. And I do hope to stay involved with, of course, the Heritage Preserve, a nonprofit organization for the preserve in Bryn Mawr. But also, there's so much work to do in terms of rolling out some really amazing opportunities for grants and funding opportunities for nonprofits that we were able to get started this year through some CDBG funding and new allocations from our funds. So maybe there'll be something there to expand or to work on or to better align. So we have no plans of moving or anything. So we're excited just to be here and to stay involved.
Well, you better stay involved.
Yes.
One thing you mentioned CDBG. I know what it means. Dave probably doesn't.
Community Development Block Grant administered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I take it back. I'm impressed.
With certain guidelines for eligibility.
Sure,
well, there you go.
Don't want to run again and become its chair?
No, I don't.
But it's a fun committee.
Tell us a little bit about, and I know with the ARP, the American Rescue Plan funding, we've committed some money to community groups. So tell us just a little bit, an overview on what is it and what are some of the programs we've done using those funds.
Sure. So if we look specifically at the CDBG block grant program, this is a repeat allocation from the federal government administered through HUD. And this has ranged everything from nonprofit funding to curb cuts for ADA compliance, things of that nature. Interesting time to be chair of this committee because of, unfortunately, of COVID. One positive of this is that some of the federal funds were released and we were able to benefit in additional funding. So we created some additional COVID CARES Act funding opportunities for all sorts of programs that have really helped us to be able to reassess where our financial priorities are for the communities to people, things of that nature. And now we're sort of rolling out of that. So we had an allocation of ARPA funding, the ARPA funds, and that was split up into 2 allocations. We're now on the second round of that,
Right.
and that has released all types of opportunities, $1 million for a vitality grant program, and many other stormwater projects, which are just brutally expensive,
Yeah.
And things of that nature. So
Well, yeah, and even some of the capital projects that we've done, you know, working on Ashbridge House to have a house for
pickleball
New
courts.
Horizons, but even helping. So I think it shouldn't be lost on anyone in this community. Our number one goal is safety of the community, but we're also always trying to create new amenities, make this township even better than it is, but also not forgetting about those in need in our community.
Right.
And I think we do a lot through CDBG, through other programs. And some of it's direct, but some of it's also indirect, right? Improving Ashbridge House so that we can have New Horizons Senior Center, have a permanent home there. Creating a new Ardmore Avenue Community Center, which millions of dollars from the ARP is going in there. So I think it is crucial.
Beautiful information, and those are exactly the high-level types of projects that really meet a community need. Clearly, we qualify, and these are the types of uses that are long-term and that augment the work of the nonprofits or the organizers that are there to do the programming and everything like that. So we're very fortunate compared to other townships who have received fractions compared to what we have with, frankly, higher need.
Yeah,
So,
and we're very fortunate to
Very
have you
fortunate.
having chaired that and really, keeping in mind those needs of those in the community. So thank you for all the work you've done.
Thank you.
And Dave, I know you said before you got involved as a commissioner, you were involved with the Shade Tree Commission. So are you going back to that? Do you have other plans? Are you walking away?
I was on the
disappearing?
Shade Tree Commission for 7 years, so I think that, you sort of, there's a saying, you never swim in the same waters twice, and I think that's probably true. But I enjoyed that experience. I'll get back, I'll see if I can resuscitate my law practice during, between the last 4 years, with COVID, a lot of trials were put on hold, and now I'm just realizing that I have a whole bunch of trials coming up over the next 6 months, so I'm really going to be slammed with that. But
I hope you don't get convicted.
thank you. I'm really hoping to. But I guess moving forward, one of the things I'm really interested in is something we're doing on Ballot Avenue. It's called the Ballot Avenue of the Arts, and we're trying to resuscitate that part of Ward 9. Which is it's great, historic buildings, but the theater stopped operating, and we have a lot of empty storefronts. So recently we formed this nonprofit organization. We did pop-up art installations, and then we did an arts walk, and lo and behold, we got 500 people out there on kind of an iffy day.
That's
and we
great.
had bands playing and face painting for kids, and it was great. So I think that's something I'm going to try and stay involved in. I'm an ex officio member of the board, and there are a lot of local people who are very interested. And it's not just a ballot thing, it's really for the entire township.
Yeah.
It's sort of an arts and culture focused thing that can really kind of provide some economic revitalization and do something kind of interesting, which
That's
is,
great.
we have as I said, we have so many good things, but we talked about funding. It's always a balancing act. We really need to focus on, serving the underserved and people who need stuff. We also need to do more in terms of parks and amenities, and the stuff we've done with the Kinwood Heritage Trail is great, and kind of getting people out and walking, which was a huge lifesaver during COVID.
The point being that it's an incredible, incredible work that you're doing to help revitalize it, and I think it's something. One thing that I've been so impressed with is everyone gets involved in their own ways and different projects. And, when we're all doing our own things and getting involved in different ways, it all works, right? Not everyone in this township needs to run for commissioner. Not everyone needs to be involved in Shade Tree. Not everyone needs to have this priority or that priority. But if we all do our part and care about our community in our own ways, it works because everyone's taking their own piece in it. And I think that's really cool.
And you're not only contributing, but you get so much out of it. I mean, being a commissioner has been really engaging. You learn so much. You have the opportunity to work with great commissioners. Township staff are fantastic. It's a great learning experience, and it's fun. It really is a lot of fun, and it makes life more enjoyable, and you feel really a part of the township when you're doing stuff like that.
You do, and you feel so informed, and everything is literally a briefing away, and you are on the edge of everything that's happening. And for anybody out there listening, if you have any inkling of running in the future, do it. Don't wait, because it's super rewarding. It really is. Yeah.
So, and both of you have gotten involved beyond being commissioner. So what are some ways that people, if they're like, oh, I'd love to get involved, but I don't know if I can run for commissioner, or I'm in Ward 6 and Andy's the commissioner there, so forget that.
He's got a lock on that for life.
He's not going anywhere.
If you are, please give me a call for when I'm clearly going to be impeached within the next couple days. But no, seriously, how do you, what are some ways people can get involved, and what should they do if they want to get more involved?
Well, I think the first thing would be to sign up for your commissioner's newsletters, because in them you will often find opportunities that present themselves. And maybe at first you're thinking, well, I don't think I can see myself really doing the planning commission, or I don't quite have the skill set for the architecture review board or whatever. But these are announcements that are often shared, and really you will be surrounded by people who will teach you, and you will add so much more than you think that you will. So believe in yourself, and get the applications as they present, and we'll keep them on file. I think Jody keeps them on file for a couple of years, if not indefinitely.
She's our township secretary. She's been here for
amazing.
She's amazing. So I would just say, reach out. Your civic associations, we are super active in the civic association world. In Lower Merion, I think we have 7 or 8 of them now active, and many municipalities, at least in the Philadelphia area and the Delaware Valley, do not have civic associations. So they rely on a few business associations or overwhelming Senate or House staff to keep up to date on local politics, and it really is just to go involved, try to go to meetings and read.
Excellent.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think volunteering is terrific, and one of the things I have pretty strong feelings about civic engagement is like rolling up your sleeves and doing stuff. And if it means a cleanup weekend on the Kenwood Heritage Trail, it's great. You'll meet people, you'll make friends, you'll do something constructive. Civic engagement is not like sitting home and firing off angry tweets about this place sucks and I really don't like my commissioner, or why do we still have traffic? That's not really constructive.
Yeah.
Do something.
So true.
And bring your creative good ideas and come to commissioner meetings and speak out. But speak out in a way that's helpful instead of grumbling. So I think that's a good takeaway from a commissioner, that roll up your sleeves and get stuff done.
I think it's a great point. So we're running low on time. Last question. What do you hope to see the board do? What do you hope to see from this township in the next decade, 2 decades? So if you look back and say, wow, this has changed, this is where I want to see this, and I hope to see this township go.
Well, for me, I think I would like to see historic corridors really protected, and the preservation to the extent feasible, really holding on to things like curb cuts, to beautiful byways that we cut through the township in really amazing ways, seeing bike paths on public shared highways and roadways championed, and really making sure that people can be safe while they're doing these things, and more trees for sure, and just continue along the same path.
Love it.
Same thing. Yeah. Greener, safer, more walkable Lower Merion.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for not only joining me today and taking time to do that, but for your service to this community. It really it is so valuable and so appreciated. And for those at home and those regular viewers, you have not only seen a wonderful episode with 2 of my favorite 2 commissioners. But you have also noticed I went 24 minutes without insulting that joke of a clown Mike McKeon. So congratulations to me for that. So thank you so much for joining us on Beside the Gavel, and I look forward to seeing you next month.